Hey guys, thanks so much for being here at 5:20, which is the last section of the conference. I had a completely different introduction for my presentation today. But I wanted to instead share with you guys a story that happened on my way from Munich to Graz. So I took a train from Munich to Graz for 6 hours, and I was sharing a cabin with a very lovely couple. They are in their 70s, and they are in a band together. So the husband played drum, and the wife was the singer. And we had a very lovely conversation. And at one point, they asked me, where am I from? And I told them, I'm from Vietnam. And the first question that they asked me was, is it true that everyone in Vietnam is very, very poor? And so that took me back a little bit. I actually was a little bit offended, but I wanted to take the opportunity to understand better on where the question came from. So I asked them, what makes you think that way? Have you ever been to Vietnam before? And the answer was no. They have never been to Vietnam. They've never been to Asia. They actually never been outside of Europe. And so in my head at first, my reaction was, of course. Of course you don't know this because you never experienced my culture before. But then we started to have the conversation, and they was actually super knowledgeable about world politics, world peace. They care a lot about tolerance, being open and honest with each other, have a better world. And so I actually step away from my first reaction, which is being offended, and understand that maybe this couple didn't have the opportunity to get educated. Maybe they're not aware because they never had the chance to experience my culture before. And that made me even more excited to be here, because all of us, we came to this conference together because we're curious, because we want to be open-minded. And we want to be able to listen to people who come from a completely different stories that you don't have that you might not have. And the fact that you guys show up here at 5:20 on the last day of the conference, which means you guys give a shit. So I'm very excited to have you guys here with me. My name is Roxy, and my Vietnamese name is Dinh Nguyen Tra Mi. I don't expect you to know how to spell it. I'm from Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, which is a beautiful tropical country. It's only 2,000 square kilometers, and it's a home to 8 million people. So if you guys have been to New York, if you have been to London, and you think the traffic there is bad, take a look at this. This is what we deal with every single day. And so how me and my sister used to go to school look a little like this. And my sister is in this room right now. I hope I make her cry by the end of my speech. So this is how we used to go to school together. I would be sitting in the back in between my mom and my dad in this tiny little space. And my sister would be squeezing that tiny little space in the front. And she would be sitting in between my dad's lap. So it's kind of like a human seatbelt system. And we would just ride to school every single day just like this. And back in the day, in the law, we weren't required to wear a helmet either. So actually, we just ride around without helmet just like this. And for some reason, this was actually the safest I ever felt. My parents, they drove us to school, to the playground, to learn how to speak and write in English every single day on this scooter, and raised us to be confident, strong, and resilient women that we are today. Thank God eventually my parents got a car, because eventually they popped out my now 10-year-old and 2-year-old sisters. I know, I saw that look. I don't know how my parents did that either. But I'm very proud to have 3 more sisters, and growing up in a household full of women, it really teach me a lot, because I've seen a lot of things, I've heard a lot of things, and I've learned so many important lessons that add into my development as a feminist and a woman leader that I am today. But hold that thought. I will come back to that later. So my parents worked extremely hard and sacrificed so many things for me to be the first one in our extended family to have a chance in America. In 2010, I flew to America to pursue my American dream, to have better education, better opportunities. I attended school in New York, pursuing a bachelor degree in marketing and cinema. And I graduate honor with also a CV pack of 7 internships and 5 extracurricular activities. I know, it sounded extra. I promise it's not a typical Asian parents thing. It's because I put the pressure on myself. I put the pressure on myself because I wanted to have my American dream, to be able to stay in America and work and live my life and build a new life there. And the hard work paid off. At the time, there was a startup 25 people social media agency called Laundry Service. They took a chance on me and they gave me my first job ever as a social strategist. It was one of the best moments of my life. I worked really, really hard in social and was so excited to work with brands like Amazon, LG, Hennessy. And I thought this was the beginning of my American dream. And I know you guys probably wanted to hear a happy ending story where I came in laundry service, I stayed with the company, I worked really hard, and then I get this opportunity to move to London and become the director of the company. But my fairy tale was a little more unconventional. I was forced to move back to Vietnam. My optical training period as a student ended, and there was no other means for me to be able to stay in America. If you guys have ever known someone who studied in America or studied in America before, I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. So I decided to move back. This was not my decision, but I had to go. And I was very lost, very confused, because I had to come to terms and accept the fact that my dream was shattered. But a lot of the times, when you think your door is closed, another door is actually open. Because I had to give up my American dream and move back to Vietnam. Laundry Service saw the potential in me, and they wanted me to then later on move to London. So in 2015, the company sent me to London to head our European expansion. And to open our office further. And this has been the greatest time of my life, working in the job that I love, doing something very meaningful in one of the best cities in the world. And what's interesting about this is that my whole life, I blame myself for being able to not be born in America. I always think, why is it so unfair that there are people who are born in a country that they can go wherever they want, they can have the opportunities however they want, and I have to be born in a country where I don't have that opportunity. But actually, this time, I got this opportunity because of my disadvantage. Something that I used to think is my disadvantage now become my strength. Because I be able to live across different countries, to go through the lack of diversity, to go through discrimination, sexism, racism, and to still be able to adapt and stand up in one of the hardest cities to live in the world. My company saw that, and they sent me to London. That's just to say that whatever you think about yourself is your weakness right now, it might be your strength. It's just about perspective. And I want today our diversity conversation to start with perspective. The reason why I bring up my upbringing and my time moving back to Vietnam is because it was during this time that I had that life-defining moment. One day, I was having dinner with my dad and his long-term friend. I was very excited during the dinner, telling him about my life in New York, my ambitions, my plan for the future, what I'm doing now, what I'm passionate about in marketing. And this man, who showed up a little tipsy as well, said this exact sentence to me. It's good that you're ambitious and smart like your dad, but it would have fit you better if you were a man. He continued, don't work too hard. A woman doesn't need to work this hard. I was mad, I was angry, but most importantly, I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed because it took me 22 years to be this angry. And the reason why is because I and many women, we grew up listening to bullshit like this all the time. People tell us things with this similar sentiment, but a lot of the times we choose to be quiet, we choose to not be angry, we choose to not choose confrontation and smile through it instead. Why? Because we're expected to be nice. In Vietnamese culture also, we're expected to be respectful toward people who are older than us, so we're not supposed to talk back, even though we know it's full of bullshit. But at that moment, I was like, no, not this time. After so many years spent in America, meeting so many great talented people of color, women, people from the LGBTQ community, and knowing how much potential so many people can have, now you're gonna tell me I can be something because of who I am? Fuck that shit, right? I never want my sisters or any other woman to grow up to hear shit like this and to think that this is their limit. So it was that moment that I decided that diversity and feminism was going to be my lifelong mission. I want to make sure that people like me, people of color, women, people of the LGBTQ community will have an equal chance to opportunities, no matter what society expectation is. Diversity. Such an industry buzzword, too. I'm sure a lot of you guys are tired of hearing this. I'm tired of talking about in the 21st century and have to reminding people about this because it should be the way the world's supposed to be, right? And the reason why all of us are so tired of this word is because there's so much talk. There's zero actions. A lot of the leadership and people in higher level in the marketing or advertising industry, they use the word diversity as something on their agenda. A lot of checking the box, making sure that the numbers look right, making sure that demographic inside a company looks appropriate, then the diversity checkbox is done. But another person's value and background and uniqueness shouldn't be in your checkbox. This is not the fucking SAT. The true diversity comes from your mindset, comes from the way you think, your perspective, your intention. Because you know that if everyone have a seat on the table, then the world can become a better place. And that's when diversity really means something. So let's take a look at how diversity looks like right now. In leadership, 31% of American corporations have 0 women in their senior management. Only 3.8% of minority women has a seat in the Fortune 500 board. Similarly, 7.9% for African American in Fortune 500 leadership. And 70% of young female creatives are working in a 75% male-dominated environment. So if you think about it, if there's 10 women in here, 7 of us are sitting in a room full of men. There's no woman at all. And what about marketing and advertising? This demographics show that there's only 12% Hispanic, 5% Asian, and 4% Black or African American in the marketing advertising workforce. And this lack of diversity result in the underrepresented work. There was a study in England and Wales that taking a look at 20 top advertising spenders across 40 different brands and over 1,300 TV adverts. And they found that only 0.06 of the people from the LGBTQ community are being represented in advertising and commercials. Similarly, only 19% of people coming from a minority backgrounds are being seen on adverts and commercial. This number might seem shocking, but it's not new information. We all know this. People like me, I don't grow up looking at commercials that feature people looking like me. Same as cinema. That's why Wonder Woman has received so much press. It seems like a progress, but it seems such a long way to go. And so in your head, when you were looking at these commercials, I'm sure the first thing that came up to your head was, what the fuck was these people thinking? Because all of these people are high-level executives in advertising and marketing, and they had a degree and had spent so many years working in this. So how can you come up with this offensive, insensitive commercial? And the second question was, how can no one saw how wrong it was? It was so easy to avoid at the beginning. So let me tell you the answer to why a task seems so easy, seems so simple, was actually overlooked. The answer is the groupthink problem. In the dictionary, the groupthink problem is defined as when a group consensus to come up with an agreement overcomes the people's desire to present alternatives, to come up with new solutions, or to express an unpopular opinions. A simple way to put it is, we don't know what we don't know if we all look at the problems from the same lens. Having a diverse group of people inside an organization in the thinking process actually provide that natural check and balance system. Because what you do is, when you sit in a room with people from completely different point of view from you, you know that you're more likely to be challenged. You know that people are more likely to disagree with you. So then you think and you process the information more carefully. And that results in a work that is more inclusive and the work that come from a bunch of different point of view and different people coming together in an agreement. Another important theory is the black box theory. This is the 21st century problem. Black box theory is how we live today. There's just so much information and so much knowledge that us, the millennial, we no longer want to learn, we no longer want to verify if something is true or not. So we are more likely to take things as it is. The best example to put is video content performs so well on social media because people millennials want to consume information within a short period of time. So then we are now more likely to take things as it is, and it's dangerous because we don't question things. We don't ask if something is true or false. We just want the answer. And so groupthink problems and black box theory come together, result in the work where the same group of people creating work, and so the people who can relate to that work, who come from the same background, will continue to be feed that single narrative. And then people who are different, the minorities who are underrepresented, they are more likely to not be able to relate to it. And so we further divided the world because there's different point of views and people feel like they're being underrepresented in the work that advertising industry are producing. And so what's next? Is it my job, the person of color, the woman, people from the LGBTQ community who have to fix this diversity problem because we're directly benefit from it? Or actually, diversity is going to benefit everyone as a whole? Should we just sit back and enjoy the progress already? I mean, the world is already a fucked up place, right? You don't want any negativity. You don't want to deal directly with the problems. You don't want confrontation. It's a fucking difficult topic to talk about when you're trying to bring up to tell someone, hey, you're not supposed to say that. It's easier if you just laugh along with it and go along with the jokes. So should we just do nothing and stay in our comfort zone? I'm not going to tell you guys the answer because I think you guys already know that already. But I wanted to show you guys what can happen if you step out your comfort zone and try to pursue diversity as your mission. So my agency, Laundry Service, when I started out, had 25 people. And now we have grown into a business of 400 different people across 6 cities. And the reason we're able to grow at this super fast pace, within only 3 years, is because we committed to 2 mottos. One is make amazing shit. What it means is every piece of content that we put out has that meaning in it, has that value behind it, and we want to make sure that your experience on social needs to align with your values and our values as well. And the second is be nice. We care about our people, and we care about our audience. So we're not here to chase different awards. We're not here to follow the traditional agency model where you give someone the happy hour, give someone the happy Friday, and that's it. no more problem solving. But what we actually want to make sure our workplace is, it's a very inclusive, diversified place. We want to make sure that everyone who comes to the table will feel inclusive. They feel like their uniqueness is being celebrated and their culture is being cared about. And that's usually result in the best work. Our agency is made up of 60% women, and likewise, our leadership is made up of 60% women. And we don't just stop at making sure that we hire a group of diverse people. We also make sure that culture is being celebrated. So we celebrate a lot of different moments that matter to our audience, whether it's feminism, whether it's Black History Month, Asian American Month, Pride Month. We're making sure that their voice is being heard.
I'm gonna lose everything.
I felt pressure to try to...
I can't say that. I was ready for a new challenge. I mean, it came from my mind, so it's very different.
On ourselves.
And now it's time for blush and bronzer.
And by producing, and by making sure that everyone feels inclusive and empowered and they know that their culture is being celebrated, then our employees are more likely to produce the best work because they're able to be themselves. So we don't just commit to these values within our employees, but we also make sure that the work that we put out for our clients represent the entire consumer population.
My greatest aspiration is to communicate authentically. In celebration of Black History Month, I have my 3rd short film premiering on HBO. I'm transitioning into a stage now to make the feature film version of Flowers. I'm thankful to have studied under people like Spike Lee. I'm inspired by people that we typically don't get to see in cinema, because not that many Black women can say that they have a narrative feature film. To reimagine the reality created for you is quite empowering.
And I really don't want my talk to be about my agency because this is my personal story to you guys. But I do think that in today's world, where you work is pretty much who you are. It is 8 to 10 hours a day, which is pretty much 30% of your life that you spend at the workplace. So who you choose to be around and what message are you trying to make sure people follow is very important to you because it reflects values in everyone around you. The next work that I wanted to show you guys is one of the work that we're really proud of that we produced for a brand called Muscle Milk. And the brand came to us with a challenge that they wanted to be able to market to the women more. And we took a look at the data, consumer data, and we found that working out actually for women, a lot of it has to do with the mental and the emotional aspect of it. And we wanted to tap into this aspect for women through this work that you're about to view right now.
Being a mom has always been really hard, especially being a mother young. You always put others before your own personal needs. There definitely was a moment where I just was kind of lost in it all. About 3 years ago, my daughter was 9, and she looked at me and she said, "Oh my God, Mom, you're so beautiful." And immediately I turned and quickly looked at her and I said, "No, I'm not. I'm ugly and fat." And the look on her face is just one I'll never forget. For me, that was the moment I realized, like, oh my God, I am unhappy with who I am as a woman. I'm unhappy with myself physically. How am I going to be the mother or the woman they look up to if I don't put myself first and figure out what's going to make me happy? I think the mental benefits from fitness outweigh the physical benefits. I really just felt like I can control these things, that I had the power to change my life ultimately. Me working out allows me to set the tone of my day. It allows me to get centered. It allows me to find whatever that moment is that I can give back to myself before I can give back to everybody else. I head straight into the office and tackle my busy day, and I feel like I have more creative ideas. When my office life is done, it's straight back home to the home life. Fitness is not about the perfect body. To me, that's about getting your life together.
So it is now 5:45, and a lot of you guys after this gonna head to the party later tonight and then get back to your regular routine, go back to your home, family, city. And of course, this is not the kind of trip that you take and you bring your bikini and your best outfit, you take the picture, you sit at the beach, and then you go home. You came here so that you can take something home with you. But I think for me personally, as a math nerd, I found that the best way to find the answer to a problem is to figure it out yourself. So I wanted to leave with you guys 3 questions to take away today. Did you come to this conference looking to open your mind to someone who look and think like you? Or is there more? Is it possible for you to alleviate or understand someone's pain or struggles, even though you might not feel the way that they feel or might not have experienced the thing that they have experienced? And the third is, do you want to be in your comfort zone, or do you want to be part of the future? My name is Roxy. I'm Vietnamese. I'm an immigrant. I'm also a feminist, a woman leader, an advocate for equality and inclusiveness, and I am a fighter. And today, it took me a lot of courage to be here and share with you guys my personal stories. And I hope that the struggles that I have told you guys about really inspire you to be able to take something away with you. If you have been through a similar situation I've been through, where someone tells you you're only here because of who you are, then I want you guys to be like, fuck this shit, because you can be whoever you want. Your background has nothing to do with who you are. So go ahead, pursue your dreams, be whatever you want to be, and don't let that stop you. If you never had experienced a similar struggles as me, then I hope that when you go home, you look around your circle, your group of friends, your family, your neighbors. Find someone who might not look like you or share the same thinking as you, and ask them a question. And maybe diversity, it just starts with empathy, which all of us have. And if we can be empathetic toward each other, then we can give everyone a seat at the table and make the world a better place. Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't want to keep you guys here for too long because it's the end of the day. So if you want, I'm going to stick around over here and hanging out. Feel free to come by and ask questions, say hi, or you can tweet me at @Roxy Dinh. Thank you so much.